How's everyone doing? I thought this hall would be empty after the lucky draw. Thank God I still have some people left, right? I hope that after a full meal, I try to hold your attention, right? So let me test this a bit. So before I go on to the main topic, a little bit about MIOTA, or Malaysia IoT Association. So we are actually a very young association founded way back in 2016, right? So our main mission is to champion and realize the full potential of IoT as part of Malaysia's digital economy, right? Empowering the nation towards the fourth industrial revolution. Again, still small, but we are growing organically. So these are our members. I think we have around, as of this quarter, about 120 members. You can see some familiar companies there. So we have a lot of data, cloud infrastructure, hardware, software, middleware. We have companies, right, developing sensors, IoT devices. We also have telcos. We also have government agencies, right? So basically, as far as we know, we are one of the largest IoT ecosystem not only in Malaysia, but actually in ASEAN as well, right? So in terms of IoT, right, I think the strange thing is this is supposed to be a data center infrastructure conference. But I think while I was attending the sessions, almost all the sessions, IoT, the keyword IoT comes up, right? Looks like I think we are heading in the right direction by setting up the association, right? Now I think IoT is a norm, right, rather than a hype. So in terms of IoT, we see IoT broken up into many verticals and horizontals. Right, I think our members are actually coming from the whole ecosystem. So we have all these verticals, right? So if you want to read this graph, right, let's say a company like China Mobile, they provide connectivity, but they provide across the board for all the different verticals. So we have members specializing in horizontals and members specializing in verticals, right? At the moment, I think there's still a lot of IoT companies in Malaysia, especially in Malaysia, have not joined us, so we welcome them to join us. So as an association, we work with most of the well-known global IoT research organizations. There's a lot of paper released by the likes of IDC, Gartner, Roland Berger, A.T. Kearney, right, that recognizes as one of the driving force of IoT adoption in the region, right? We also share data with them from our members and vice versa. Well, as an association, we work closely with the government, right? With many agencies, like MDEC or Malaysia Digital, MITI, MCMC. So we actually sit on the working group, right, or the task force of the ones in red, right? So we founded after 2016, right? So all those are in red. So we are in the 5G task force, we are in the national e-commerce roadmap, the industry forward from MITI and so forth. So along the way, we also do held conferences like similar to this, today's conference exhibition, where we bring the whole IoT ecosystem together. The last one we did was actually in 2019. So again, after that, you guys know what happened. So we moved our events to online, right? But now we are actually coming back this year to hold more events and conferences, right? So I'm gonna go through what is IoT. All right, I think it's become a standard now, right? This is a slide I gave a talk way back in 2018, right? 5 years ago. Right, talking about what is IoT. Actually, it's on YouTube, right? You guys want to do a IoT 101, you can just Google me, right? So there's a lot of definitions on what is IoT, right? My definition that I actually gave in the talk is that for something, right, that be termed as an IoT, it needs just have to three things. I call it the 3C. So it needs to collect data, physical phenomenon from the real world. It needs to connect, obviously, to the internet, And last but not least, you need to communicate that data to something more meaningful, right? So I think if you have those three elements, it is an IoT, right? So there's a lot of examples out there, right, in the market, on IoT applications, usage, and so forth. However, IoT is an enabling technology or enabling, horizontal, right? The value is not in IoT itself, but the value is in the new oil, which is the data, right? I think I saw a few presenters sharing this footnote, right, from IDC. So it's predicted by 2025, IoT devices will generate up to 80 zettabytes, right, globally. There's a lot of data. So for you who not familiar with what is a zetta, right, 1 trillion giga is a zetta, right? So if I were to convert this, let's say one gigabyte is a brick in the Great Wall of China. With 79.4, you can build 258 Great Wall of China, right? So imagine the amount of, data storage that we need, right, all over the world, right? And actually it's growing at a phenomenal rate. Basically, I think one of the very hype use cases, right, for IoT, right, and data storage is AI, artificial intelligence. And then lately, a lot of, interesting snippets, from the emergence of chat, right? Large language models like ChatGPT and recently Bard, right? It will drive even more the data usage. So in AI size, again, it's getting very, very interesting, right? It's also getting very, very scary, right? It is, from science fiction, looks like it's very close to becoming a fact, right? But I think, in my opinion, I think we still have a long way to go. We have not reached what I call artificial general intelligence, or AGI. AGI means that the AI can truly replace a human being, right? So we are still having, narrow AI, where that's why you have large language models for specific one. You have speech synthesis, speech translation. You have, generating graphics from text and prompt, right? Far way to go, but looks like the journey is getting shorter and shorter, right? Then the other trends of what's driving the data usage, right, or traffic or cloud is obviously 5G. I think a few speakers talk about it. But basically in 5G, you just need to know three things, right? Three of the main features. You have eMMB, they call it Enhanced Mobile Broadband. This gives you up to more than 1 gigabyte of data transfer. Just to compare now with 4G, you're probably getting about 20, 30, mainly 40 megabit per second, right? So with 1 gigabyte or more, you can actually do a lot of things. The other feature is for IoT, massive machine type communications, right? I think the standards allows you to have 1 million IoT devices within 1 square kilometer, right? Just to compare with 4G, you probably max out at about 80,000 devices in 1 square kilometer, right? So basically within this room, right, you could have thousands of devices, and within a square kilometer, with the coverage, 1 million devices. And last but not least, you have this feature called URLLC, Ultra Reliable Low Latency. This means that you can send data to the cloud, do some calculation, machine learning, you send you back the result, right? So the latency is actually 1 millisecond. So the whole round trip, right, machine learning, everything, inference could happen within milliseconds, right? Again, what this opens up would be a whole set of new applications. People are targeting this for AR, virtual, augmented reality, robotics, any applications that need very fast, reliable data. And all of this will actually rely on the cloud, right? So again, other applications like autonomous driving and stuff like that. And the third trend is Web 3.0, right? Again, when I'm doing research on this, there's actually Web 3.0 and Web 3. right? So with Web 3.0, it's actually a term coined by the founder of the Internet, Sir Tim Berners-Lee, right, who founded the Internet, World Wide Web, based in late 80s, all right? So we have Web 0, where the web pages are static, just for reading information. Then we have Web 1 with the invention of Java, JavaScript, HTML. Pages are interactive, right? I can enter data, username, password. I can surf the net and stuff like that. Then we have Web 2.0, right? Where there's more things you can transmit over the web, like WhatsApp, chat, and stuff like that. So as of right now, we are probably in the fringes of Web 3.0. So massive interactivity. You have many ecosystems like Facebook, social media, LinkedIn, everything connected together. And we see devices also going and sending data to the web. So you have Google Nest, right? You have Amazon smart speakers, right? Smart watches and everything. So the web is used not only by humans, but by also things, or IoT. So that's why, again, it's predicted there are probably like 40 to 50 billion IoT devices, right, in 2025. And then lately, there's obviously, everyone heard of this term called metaverse, right? Which is, I'm not sure what comes first, which is either named after a certain company or vice versa, right? Again, this one is still in its infancy. We do not know how it will look like, right? I think one of the, sometime back, there's an article that asking the questions, are we in a simulation? So right now, is this real? Are you sitting down there, right? Watching me present, or you're actually at home wearing a VR goggle, right? I also can't answer that, right? Maybe this is a real simulation. So how will the metaverse become? We don't know. But what is certain is that all these technologies, 5G, AI, IoT, Web 3.0, Web 3, metaverse, MSC, blockchain, this will drive even probably exponential adoption of the cloud, right? Because all the data we are dealing with, all the microservices, the AI, all will be running from the cloud, right? Again, this is a very exciting time. We are living in a very exciting times. And the way you look at it, right, all this technology can be used for good, all right, to drive, the fourth industrial revolution, advancement of mankind. Also, it can be used for bad, right? All right. But again, we need to understand how all these things comes together, right? So, IoT, AI, all 5G will drive adoption of data cloud, right? On either side, you could also use IoT to help, for example, monitor the energy usage of data centers, right? So one of the main challenges with data centers is the usage of energy. So from this slide, you show that the electricity usage of data centers around the world is more than a single country in some cases. And I think it's growing and growing. You can see the exponential growth in terms of, power use in your networks, in your production of ICT, right? The IoT devices themselves and the data center, right? Again, a fact is with improving technology, faster chips, lower energy chips, the increase of energy is not so much, but it will increase because of the need to handle massive amount of data, right? So how do you monitor the energy usage, okay, using IoT? So in IoT value chain, pretty simple. You're actually making use of cloud technology, right? So you have a middleware running in your cloud, right? That ingests data coming from your sensors and so forth, right? Then you also need to figure out what connectivity, right, to send to the cloud, right? What connectivity? So basically, depending on your IoT devices, right? You could have Wi-Fi, you could have 4G, you could actually 5G, and then there's also a set of emerging wireless standards called low power wide area network, right? So these standards are for applications where the IoT devices runs on battery, and it need to run on a single charge of battery, maybe for up to 2, 5, or maybe 10 years. Something you install remotely and then forget about it, That's why they have a set of low power wide area network, right? And then obviously you need to have the hardware, right? Which is again the end device or the gateway, right? And then you need to have all your sensors. So basically, in a nutshell, let's say you have an application set up for data center IoT monitoring, right? You would have basically a gateway or an end device connected to all your sensors, right? Could be your power meter, your UPS, your temperature, humidity, or even your chiller or your security systems, right? So basically, this helps you monitor what's going on with your infrastructure, collect data, study the patterns, and do things like predictive maintenance, right? I think there's WhatsApp going around media. I think there's a big fire at Mid Valley, right? At the TNB substation, right? So that would not happen if they have IoT installed, right? The data will be collected, using machine learning to predict the failure before it happens, right? So you could avoid something like that with IoT if you install it correctly in your systems, right? So developing an IoT solution can be very simple, can be complex. Obviously, it depends on the skill set. In most of the IoT projects I see, let's say for organization, usually they throw the IoT project to the IT department, correct? And IoT is not IT. Exactly, there is hardware and software, right? The failure rate, if you throw a hard IoT project to an IT department, is very high because they only understand the software side, not the hardware side. And then if you throw the IoT project to the engineering team, the maintenance team, also will fail because they understand only hardware, not software, right? So basically, in a nutshell, IoT is a combination of IT and also OT, operational technology. So there's a lot of, I think people are familiar with platforms, open source hardware, software like Arduino, Raspberry Pi, right? So those are actually very good platforms because again, easily available, very low cost, right? But this is not for everyone, right? Meaning that the failure rate of using this, maybe its POC is very good, right? But when you deploy, you run into a lot of issues. So that's why with the understanding of the complexity of IoT, all the members, about 8 to 10 members from Myota, came out with this platform, right? So basically, we're using a chip from ST, one of the members. We have a Malaysia design house called Create IoT that designed the whole board, the PCB. And we have PCCW providing the global SIM card. And then we have Fariat providing the middleware. And then a few other companies coming together to build this platform. So what this platform does is that you do not need to worry about the sensor connectivity, right? The hardware side, because it's already designed for you. Again, this is the technical architecture, right? It is very open, even though it's off-the-shelf platform, it's very open. You can connect to a lot of sensors. It has a built-in 4G, right, modem. The SIM card is already pre-installed, and then you can connect to a solar panel. It's actually battery-powered, so there are batteries behind the board, right? So you can install this device indoor and also outdoor, right? You can install it outdoor because it is IP rated, right? So the example showing to connect to a power meter, for example. You want to monitor the power usage of your infrastructure. It is IP65, mean that splash-proof, right? The connectors below are waterproof. So in some cases, if let's say your whole infrastructure gets flooded, it will still run. It still collects data on the water level, the leak detection and stuff like that, right? It's very rugged. And then we have again sensors coming from members. It is Buatan Malaysia, right? We got a certification. It is also MCMC compliant, right? Compliant to all the standards, right? So the idea of this box is input from the industry, IoT industry. We design it for at least 80% of most application use case, right? And I believe someone from the IT department can just get this box, set it up. You actually have a REST API, right? MQTT is all prepared, right? Or if you need it, you can actually explore and build something out of it. So we actually, along with it, not only data center monitoring, it can be used for agriculture, agri-tech. So we have a reference design for that. It could be used for smart manufacturing, right? Connect to your PLCs, your MES, ERP. It could be used for healthcare, right? And also smart cities, right? So basically it is a platform, right? Not only hardware and software, tools, reference design, architecture, and then we're actually gonna looking to create an IoT marketplace for you to get components to add to this platform. And we also welcome if you got anyone from the industry able to, interested to join us and make this platform more powerful. Okay, this is my last slide. So with the amalgamation of what I mentioned before, IoT, AI, 5G, there will be new enhanced customer experiences, right? You can change the customer experiences, services, new business models be created, where you create something that's fully autonomous, context-aware environment, right? And I call this new trend the HyperNet of Things, or HOT. Okay, so thank you.